Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Back out here at Giga-Texas, and not only is there a lot going on this extremely windy day, but also there's a lot going on with Tesla and the broader community. Now, just recently over in Times Square at Nasdaq, Tesla had a display various different items that are important for the company coming up. Of course, they had Tesla Optimus handing out candy to people and giving that opportunity to get a lot of news about that. On the Nasdaq billboard, of course, it also had Optimus and also a kind of a nice display of the Cybertruck, but probably the star of the show was the Cybercab, which was prominently displayed out just in front of the Nasdaq building as well. Now, related to this, Robyn Denholm, who is the board chair of Tesla, was recently interviewed during that event, and we learned a lot of very interesting things. Perhaps the biggest thing that is kind of setting the Tesla community on fire is that she mentioned that the Cybercab does have the provisions for a steering wheel and for pedals, and they have that as a backup plan just in case the regulatory environment requires them to have that as they start fielding the Cybercabs. Now, of course, that set the community on fire with some people like Farzad, who's been talking about having a steering wheel and pedals on the Cybercab and available for purchase. He also talked a lot about the fact that there's a lot of capital expenditures here at the factory to set up the line, get all the equipment, do all of the supporting infrastructure necessary to have that Cybercab production line. And that is coming along here. It's in the final stages of being assembled here in the factory, and that is an important point because Tesla has just pretty much the last year or two fully embraced the AI direction for the company, and that is very prominent with Optimus, but it's also very prominent with the vehicles with full self-driving, and the Cybercab is poised to kind of tap into that direction of the company. But there is a lot of risk and there's a lot of uncertainty with that. Some of it is on that regulatory environment, some of it is on the ability for the V14 software for full self-driving to be able to support the autonomous driving of the Robotaxi fleet, the Cybercabs, and out to the owners of the vehicles, and just generally how fast that can ramp up, especially with a vehicle like the Cybercab that would not have steering wheels or pedals. So this is a very interesting development, and it's something to watch to see what Tesla is going to be doing and what they may be announcing over the next couple of months. Now, kind of related to that, yesterday the Robotaxi service area here in Austin expanded again. This is the 5th expansion, including the initial opening of that service, and this is considerably larger. And if you can see by a couple of these images and kind of compare to the various service areas that have come before it, this encompasses the large area around Austin, including downtown and well to the north, east, and west, and also to the south. It does cover Giga-Texas here as well. And this is just a great sign that maybe with all of these developments, it's getting ready to start expanding the Robotaxi fleet to a lot of different metropolitan areas, and as we've talked about, in 5 different states. So this is something that we're going to have to watch. Of course, my big wish is that the vehicle fleet and the amount of public access increases dramatically to take advantage of this service area. So, we're going to have to monitor this and see how all of these various developments come together, but it is interesting, especially considering that we're about a week out from the big shareholders meeting. So a lot of news, a lot of updates to keep track of. With that, let's get the drone in the air and let's fly around on this pretty windy fall day here at Giga-Texas and see what's going on.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are considering purchasing Starlink, I would recommend that you use my referral link at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good morning again from Giga-Texas. It's a beautiful sunrise here this early morning, although it is extremely windy, and it will get even more so throughout the flight. We do have great visibility. We're going to start off here on the east side, looking across the cooling plant for Cortex 1. All 6 of the fans are clearly operational, and maybe that just tells us they're doing a lot of work with full self-driving V14 training. As we come over further to the east, I'm going to follow along the River Road extension. Tell that a lot of work is continuing being done, preparing for that new road surface. Also see the concrete vaults, and along that area is where trenches have been made, put in conduit, and filled back in. Correctly ahead of us here by this intersection with Robotic Avenue is the new clearing, and it continues to get larger, and I will try to fly around and give you a good view of what is going on. Many of the trees in this triangular section have been taken down. They're kind of in piles right now. Much of this is being taken up to the far north for eventual breaking down, probably mulching, and then eventually just used in other parts of the site. But this is what it looks like here. You can tell now with the trees cleared off, there's a bit of a hill with the kind of trees in the bottom center next to that orange earth mover equipment, and it looks like they're continuing to bring this over towards where the workshops there are at the bottom of the screen. This gives you a great look back on the left-hand side where it connects over to River Road. Now, this is eventually going to work its way all the way up to the cathode plant along this side of the site. And then all of the trees that you see at the top of the screen and where the Colorado River is going to be part of that ecological paradise open to the public. And that will be under development at some point in the future. As I continue to fly back towards the main factory, a great view of downtown Austin lit up with the early morning sun over this material staging yard. And again, a good view of all of the materials that are being stored here, some of which is being used in that south extension as they continue to do more work inside, which is a little bit hard to see with the drone. But I'll try to give you some views here a little later in the video. As we fly over the parking lot and the superchargers, get a nice view here of the secondary main entrance with that construction entrance next to it, the temporary platform, also just what some of the activity looks like here on the east side. We do see a few containers of materials, but a lot has already been moved inside the factory and being installed for that Cybercab production line, which is in this part of the factory on that third floor predominantly, but it is spread out to other parts of the factory as well. Now, next to this large open receiving door, you'll note that the materials that used to be all piled up there are almost completely gone, which is a great sign of more progress. As we continue further to the south, you can tell where some of the recycling of the scraps of the stamping are being done. And then here next to the tower, you can see those red and white items, a couple of robotic assemblers in yellow, and 2 of those packages wrapped in the white. There used to be 3 on my last video. Now there's only 2, so we can see that they're continuing to move that material inside for installation. Here's a great view with lighting of that cooling plant, kind of zoomed in, and a good view of what's going on the ground floor. Some of that moisture and condensation that's flowing away from it, and then there's that pipe, and that drains over to that large water detention pond. As we maneuver back over the power lines, I'm going to take the zoom back out and we'll maneuver around and see what is going on with all the excavation work. You can see that on the south side of River Road, and it connects over to this excavation work with the trench boxes on the north side. You do see some dirt piled off into the bottom right. And as I kind of maneuver around, get a good look at a lower altitude of what continues here. There is that trenching that continues over towards the cooling plant where that excavator is sitting on top of that right now. Here's a good view using the light of what's going on inside. That large white section on the ground has been added in, and you can see kind of a sort of a mezzanine kind of construction that connects from that white structure over to these new columns that have been added in. They're kind of the gray colored columns as opposed to the white ones on the inside. So that is part of all of that construction that is going on and related to those pipes that we saw on the east side material staging yard. So I'm going to give you a view here of the work on the south side of River Road along the entire length of the road, and we're going to resume back over where there is continued work on the caissons today. Work continues at this smaller caisson and also with those large concrete vaults that we see around on the ground. Now there's a couple of forms on the ground too, those cylindrical items. We're going to see that the pump truck is actually pouring concrete into some of them at the base of the caisson. Also next to this large excavation where we see some more work on the inside at the ground floor, putting in a sump for drainage with all those pipes that you see at the bottom left. And this is what it looks like inside the caisson. See some of the concrete's been poured using those forms, and what it is starting to shape up like on the inside. It looks like the ground may have been raised up a little bit. It's not as low as it used to be. And then here we see some excavation underway and a sump with those pipes that I had mentioned next to where that caisson is. And as I kind of pan the drone up a little, you'll see them again on the bottom of that trench. You can see the spreader bars keeping the trench from collapsing in, and another shot of those forms getting concrete inside the caisson. So anyway, this work is definitely making progress. Hopefully we'll see this completed soon and get a better idea of how this is all going to kind of come to an end. Now it does connect under the road to this caisson via a tunnel. Looks like there's some more of these potentially forms possibly on the ground. And as we look inside, you get a good view of what is going on. It looks like there is some sort of I don't know, breaking up of the tunnel walls here with this kind of jackhammer. Very interesting development here. Why they're doing that, I don't know, but maybe it'll be related to all of those cylindrical items that we see on the surface. But nonetheless, work continues on all of the water intercept system, of which consists of 4 major caissons, 2 of which we can see in the frame right now. So I'm going to maneuver back over to the southwest, take a look at what is going on at the material staging yard here today. So we pass over the corrugated pipe segments on the ground stored here. We see another delivery, 3 large items covered in the white. You can see that they are being lifted off the trailer right now. They're going to be temporarily staged here in this kind of open section just to the east of that white tent. And We'll probably see these moved over to the factory in the very near future, and hopefully we'll get a glimpse of that so we know where these are headed. Also, a great view of all of the casting racks that have been moved over next to that white tent-like structure. And it looks like this is the current place for storing them. I'm not sure if that's for future expansion or if those are now obsolete. We do see a lot more of the equipment here, more of the wooden crates and the concrete vaults all around this particular site and on this area here, which is kind of segregated away. We see more of these kind of items on the ground, most of which does look like production equipment associated with probably what's underneath these green tarps. You can see one of those green tarps had been ripped away by all the winds, and you could see that there was some red equipment underneath. So I suspect that's what the rest of this looks like. So maybe Mother Nature will be helpful to us, and with all of the winds that we're getting over the rest of the day and tomorrow, which are going to be getting much stronger than they are right now, maybe it'll take off some of those covers and we'll get a better view. As I mentioned, there is a lot of these casting racks, also some additional racks that are used for body parts that have been moved over here for storage, and there's also one remaining transformer on the ground here. The rest have been either moved off site or consolidated a little bit further to the north, and we'll see that here momentarily. I'm going to bring the drone up over the power lines, turn back to the west so that we can keep the sun at our back and have a nice visibility and use all of this great low-level lighting in the early morning. And we'll see what is going on here. A lot of this equipment, again, we know is part of the structural pack and 4680 cell portion of the factory. Here's where they've been fashioning up some of the superchargers and the segments of pipe and other items that are necessary for that, and this new Quonset hut type structure, probably a workshop, being installed. As we move our way back up to the north, we'll see that gantry crane at the bottom of the screen that is normally used to help unload heavy items, and it's been seen over by the stamping machine section. Here's where all of the transformers on this side of the site have been consolidated. You see them all over in various locations, and I'm going to estimate that there's around 100 or so here right now. And this is in addition to the green ones that we'll see on the east side of the battery cathode plant. The outbound lot looks pretty busy here on the west side. Two long rows with the trucks in between to pick them up for movement off-site. We see a mix of the Model Y Premium Standards and Cybertrucks. And then on this lot here, more are starting to accumulate. And on the right-hand side of the screen, we see some vehicles autonomously driving on those lanes. We'll see that here in a moment, a little bit closer up, but great view of what's going on with the superchargers in this blue and white two trailers. This is where they do that noise, vibration, harshness, also squeaks and rattle testing and mitigation as necessary. And we did cover this on a previous video on the intro and gave a lot of information about what those are like. So you can find out more by going back about a week or two on my videos for that. Great view of that test track being used. Many more of the vehicles up on the north side of the outbound lot being stored, and of course the employee vehicles in the upper right where they are parked. The semi is not here today, so it's being used somewhere for testing most likely. And more vehicles lined up for the direct delivery on the right-hand side of where it says Tesla. And on the left-hand side, we see the autonomously driven vehicles arriving into these 4 lanes, getting ready to be moved into the end-of-line facility and have that final processing. I'm still trying to keep an eye out to see if what I had heard is coming to pass, which is after the end of line is completed, using autonomous driving over to the outbound lot to position for the trucks. That is something that they do want to do. Just not sure if it is fully implemented yet, but I will keep watching for those indicators. So I'm going to get ready to cross over the highway, and we'll resume by the west main entrance. Strong wind out of the west is making for a beautiful flag display today. So I thought I would maneuver the drone over here and show you also what's going on at the base of the flags. I realized that the sun was not at the best angle here, so I kind of reversed direction. I'll try to clean up the video here, get rid of the sun flares, and just show you what's going on at the base here with the solar roof demonstration item. Also, the mobile superchargers, and looks like they're setting up some of the other materials, probably for the shareholders meeting. Speaking of which, they are putting in the bollards here, a little bit more of them across the entire face of the entrance. And I think this is something that has been a long time in coming because of the pedestrians and the heavy traffic that goes through that area. This is a view of the exit point for the Model Ys coming out of the factory. Don't see any directly coming out at this moment, but the vehicles that are allayed here kind of suggest that it's a premium Model Y production day. And if I can get more details on that, and specifically which days are which, I will let you know. The perimeter fence is almost completely now completed with all of the mesh material between the poles now on this side of the site, and that continues up to the berm on the upper left. There is some movement of materials and deliveries going into that platform with that crane. And as we pass this bus and this opening where the employees do their initial check-in when they come to work, we'll see this area by the 4680s where more of some materials are being unpacked and getting ready for recycling. And speaking of recycling, the cans for the 4680s in those bins. And we're going to continue around the northwest corner. Again, the perimeter fence. You can see that here at the bottom of the screen. There's just a few segments that are open here on this corner. One just passing below the drone, another few here, and then this open section between the two perimeter fences where they are continuing to do some work on these underground vaults. You can see the disturbed dirt, and this is going to be this way for a while, and then they will finish up that perimeter fence. Looking at the north face of the building, we don't see any of those cabinets that were kind of stored temporarily on the right-hand side of the screen. We do see some bins for materials that have been unpacked and probably installed inside on the center of the screen. And as I kind of maneuver the drone, I'm going to come away from the factory, get a great view of the entire front north face, and also where this berm is over Tesla Road, and come back where we see the casting racks, the Cybertrucks pulling racks over to the production line for Cybertrucks. And these are the same racks that were stored on that far southwest corner. Again, I'm not sure if those are new, if they are obsolete, or what the reason is for moving them there. It may be just because of space. These are all the paint stands for the bumpers for the Model Y, and also some other body parts and body in white movement. These racks here are for plastic items, possibly for headliners, some of which are all made inside of this part of the factory. Couldn't really get close enough to completely read it, but I believe that that's what we are seeing. I also noticed on the roof there is work continuing to do some repairs on the weatherproof membrane. You can tell by the plastic on the structure here how much the wind is blowing. A lot of debris where they have removed some items, and then here it looks like they're kind of working along the parapet wall and doing some stripe patterns. Maybe they're working on some of the seams for the weatherproof membrane in that section by those ventilation ducts and cooling housings. As I pull away, we can see the rooftop fan and ventilation units with the filters. That's part of the casting machine structure. That new access point to the roof in the center right, and all of the new enclosures here, and the 10 of them that has been added over the last maybe 6 months, and those are all completed. It's been a while since I've shown you what's going on the roof, so I thought I would do that, and also just take advantage of the lighting that we have at the early morning. Bring the drone back down, zoom in that secondary main entrance again, get a good view of what is going on. One of the glass panels has a red X on it. Maybe their glass has either been broken, or they're trying to prevent it from being broken because of all the materials and machinery that is going in through that area. Next to these towers is where that temporary platform used to be. They still haven't finished putting in the windows, but they have replaced one of the concrete panels. You can see that above that opening. And that just suggests that we're going to see the glass reinstalled here very soon. Also means that whatever they've been moving in there has been completed. Lots of these racks on the ground with castings are for the Model Ys. And as we pass the baghouse filtration plant, see the melt center and a great view with this lighting at this altitude of the two furnace loading systems. The one on the left is operational, and the bucket of what we would see is inside. And one here I'm zooming in is the new one. You can see them fashioning that bucket on the where that frame looks like, and that will be where they put the materials such as you see in the between the two, and then it's moved in for the furnace for melting. And we also see a yellow truck bringing in more of the scrap wheels, and I just give you a view of this. They use these wheels for bulk aluminum, and it is a part of the recycling efforts that they have here. And it's also part of the permits that they have for this section, the melt center. And there's a requirement for them to do a certain amount of recycling, and that is a part of that process. It also reduces the material cost by using scrap aluminum wheels rather than having to source it from a new manufacturer. So it's a really innovative way that Tesla's using to make the castings for the vehicles. Here's the new trailers for the temporary offices. Also continued displays with the Cybertrucks and that original Roadster with that Halloween theme. As we pass over this section with the gig orientation and giga training, we see that the tent-like structure now has the canvas roof on it just in time for the high winds. So hopefully it will survive what we're going to be seeing over the next day or two as the front comes through and the winds get really strong. This is where the old trailers used to be. More of them have been moved off-site. The ones with the red stripes are still in operation for the moment, but those will be moved soon, and that'll allow for more construction. While I'm here, I'll kind of start from this vantage point of the Cortex 2 plant. Great view of the roof and also most of the walls. They've done some staining on the right-hand side of the screen of that new wall section. And then here we have some big developments, and I'll zoom in so you can see that. They poured some of the concrete here on the west hallway. They have those interior temporary walls, it looks like, in the top of the screen, and then the new studs for the new wall. The screw-type piers have continued to be installed here. It does look like there's two different diameters. The smaller ones are on the left where they're actively putting in one of the screw-type piers right now. You can see on the ground all of the blue flags where they're going to continue installing the piers. So this is going to be quite a large section when it is completed. And we have seen screw-type piers used before in several areas of the site. One of them is the baghouse filtration plant by the casting machine section. We've seen this with the Megapack 2 and a few other areas around the site. So still not sure exactly what this is going to be, but it's a large area that's going to have these piers. And you can get a sense with this stack of the screw-type piers just how many more are left to be installed. And there's some here, and then a little bit more on the left-hand side next to the trailer. So we do have quite a ways to go with the screw-type pier installation. And I'm going to pull away and kind of go along the parapet wall of the Cortex 2, looking to the west so you can get a good sense of the earthwork, the conduit, and the connections that are being made between this facility and the new electrical switch yard, also the Megapack, and just how this is continuing to progress. We also see a new graded section right in the center top of the screen next to the partially filled water detention pond. And I'm going to kind of maneuver the drone around to get a lower altitude view. You can tell by all of the dust that the wind is really starting to kick up. It was actually kind of making it a little challenging to fly the drone today, but fortunately we were able to get through a full flight. But as I bring the drone down, you see some of the materials being stored here on the right. Suggests that we're going to see some sort of construction here. Not sure exactly what it is, but it will be definitely something I will keep in mind and keep a watch on. And as we continue to fly across the dirt with the wind blowing some of that dirt around, we can see the work for some of the drainage, and also a closer view of the electrical conduit as being installed. These are 2 of the eventual 3 banks, and they also have the concrete vaults next to the workers. That gives you a sense of scale. And these all connect over to kind of this junction area, and then continue past the power lines to the south of the expansion of the electrical switch yard, and then they'll connect into the underground vaults that you see with those 3 control trailers. So let me maneuver the drone here on the south side and kind of give you an idea of what this is looking like as the progress continues. As we pass over the perimeter fence, we can get a good sense of how things are going here. They're starting to do some work on that large transformer. Of course, more of the steel erection is underway here for the permanent parts of the switch yard. They are installing more of those V-type circuit breakers, it looks like here today with that crane. The footing work continues to be manufactured, and we can also see some additional equipment that is being positioned by that yellow crane. In addition to that, more equipment and items have been delivered and are stored here until they are used, and a great overall view of the entire switchyard expansion. I'm going to kind of stay up a little higher right now because of all of the winds, give you this nice overall view of the west side of Cortex 2, the north side of Cortex 2 with a lot of the materials that are being stockpiled, including some pipes and manifolds, of which we've seen being installed inside the factory. And of course the trench that had all the concrete pipes that are through that middle section with the darker dirt is being all filled in. More of the dirt being stored in the middle area between the Cortex 2 and the battery cathode plant. And of course here on the north end, see the trucks at those receiving docks. Maneuvering here on the northeast side, there's those green transformers. It does look like there may be a few more that have been added over the last couple of days. I'm not sure the exact number that are here. As we get to the crash test facility, I'm going to zoom in, stay up at a little bit higher altitude because of the winds. You can see with the covers over the Cybercabs, there's now 2 here on next to that black fence. The crates have Cybercab parts in them, and I think that's part of whatever engineering and testing that they are doing. Inside the crash test facility, we can see several Cybercabs at various different states of assembly, or maybe pre or post crash testing. Of course, you can also get a good sense of the amount of wind that's going on, and you're not going to really bring the drone in anymore. We'll keep the zoom in so you can see some more of the vehicles, some of the Cybercabs and the covers all along this side. The one that's under that silver cover is interesting because it's the only Cybercab that is all black. It's not the gold color, and I'm not sure why, and I've not been able to get any clear shots of that because of the cover. But maybe it is an interesting data point to keep a track on. On the south side, the crash wall has been moved over to the left, and they may be preparing for a different kind of test here momentarily. And this is kind of what that whole site looks like here today on the east side of the battery cathode plant. So before we end the drone flight, I thought I would come back and look at the Cortex 2 one more time. On the left, you can see work where the stain has been added on that entranceway and the receiving door. And then here between the die shop and Cortex 2, more work filling in some of the exterior walls. On the left, you see that gray textured surface that'll be stained pretty soon. You see the risers coming up out of these trenches where they have added in some electrical conduit. I'll zoom in so you can see what that looks like here. And there's what those risers appear like. Also, there are some kind of containers or structures that are being brought inside here, just in the doorway, and you can see that they are on that slab. More of those white items on the ground have been delivered as well. Hard to tell for sure what they are. There is a concrete truck here suggesting that there's concrete work on the inside through this part of the plant. And as you can tell, they've filled in all the trenches here for the concrete pipe in the right-hand side of the screen. A lot of the materials are gone as well. The more of the walls being filled in on the left with that kind of greenish, bluish kind of look. And some more equipment here with looks like maybe some compactors for piles on the left. Hard to say for sure. They are continuing to work with the ground slab through this section, and they are filling in yet another one of those large openings on the exterior wall. So in the end, there's only going to be a few openings on this side of the Cortex 2. While I'm at a lower altitude, a great view of those materials that are being stored here on the north end. Kind of a peek inside. They are getting that yellow membrane put down, that moisture barrier, so there's going to be some concrete here very soon inside, and they're doing some work on the roof on this end of the building. So that's pretty much it for today. The wind is definitely getting quite strong, so it's about time to end the drone video anyway and get the drone safely on the ground. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate that, and for your continued support. And I do hope that what we were able to see and talk about today was helpful. Take care. Have a great rest of the week.